You don't trust me. This doesn't happen. I'm like, well, you're not doing your job.
When we first started the KPI, everyone was
Mhm.
asking, why are we doing this? We're not doing this before.
Why are KPIs important? Welcome to the Offsite Team podcast. I am here with my good friend, April. How are you, April?
I've been busy trying to catch up with my tasks. How are you?
Yeah, that's what you get for taking 4 days off. But you have a very competent team, and they took care of things while you went on, your little anniversary weekend, which was absolutely great. I saw your pictures on Instagram, and that's sweet. But get this. So picture this, April. You are a starship captain navigating the vast expanse of the universe with stars shimmering and planets looming ahead. My son and I, by the way, love to watch Star Wars. So I'm already into this illustration. But how do you know if you are truly on course? In this ever-evolving galaxy of business, those shimmering stars are our KPIs, or key performance indicators, in the DME, rehab, and respiratory realm. What they do is they light up our path, ensuring we're hurtling towards success at warp speed. So anyway, welcome, space travelers, to the business, DME, respiratory, and rehab business entrepreneurs that people are just talking about, or at least we are. We had one of our latest podcast episodes was like nearing 1,000 listens, which is really quite awesome. It's like people need to hear this stuff. They want to go light speed in their business. So anyway, here's the thing. With this podcast, we have a challenge for everyone listening today. Share this podcast with one colleague or friend in your industry that needs to hear that interstellar hint that they need to perform better, that they might need a little bit better goals. So last week we were talking about KRAs. This is the other half. You cannot just have key results areas. You have to have numbers that go with it. And I have 4 kids, but some of my kids, actually I think all 4 of my kids have played soccer. Here in Yakima, Washington, they have this soccer league where everyone plays soccer, but no one keeps score. So they're all winners. In business, is everyone winner? No. In business, not everyone can be a winner, because let's say if one person wants to sell a wheelchair, that other business is not going to sell that wheelchair. So to win in business, we have to keep score. We have to know exactly what's victory, what's not victory. And some of the best times that I have learned a lot is when I have lost. It drives me nuts. Now, what works best is if I lose with a great coach behind me, say, hey, Erik, you tried. If we do this, it will be better next time. So this is our job, is to come alongside other DME businesses, respiratory businesses, specifically those that use Brightree. And we're going to help you out with great offsite team members. And some of our secret sauce is through KPIs. So first, why are KPIs important, April?
Well, KPI is a key performance indicator, is a metric that we use. So it has to be specific, which is why it's very important. It needs to be measurable, relevant to our goals. It should be time-bound, actionable, and accurate. So it also helps us. The reason why it's important for me is because it's helped us inform decisions and drive performance improvement. So let's say if one of the team members are not having a good KPI, then what we do is we look for training opportunities. We use that one.
So I have were you here at Howard's before we started doing KPIs?
Yes.
Okay. Did everyone love it? So when I, by the way, this was hard to get these instituted. I worked with our executive. Hey, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. I have some bad news for everyone. If your company does not have KPIs and you lead this charge, are things going to get easier or better, harder or easier from the get-go?
Well, before, everyone was like just all over the place.
Well, everyone was all over the place. When we instituted it, did all of a sudden it get immediately better or immediately worse?
Well, it's actually both. So it got worse and then it got better.
Yeah, for my life, it got worse. The number of people who threw a fit and walked into my office, you don't trust me. This doesn't happen. I'm like, well, you're not doing your job. So I'd love to say this is not the message. Hey, if you institute KPIs in your company, immediately things are going to get worse for you. I'll just tell you, your performance actually might get better immediately. Actually, I would say your business performance will immediately get better. You will make more money, but your personal life at work is going to get harder because people are going to say, you don't trust me. You don't understand how hard this is. I mean, you name it. It's going to get harder. And well, I still remember when I gave you your KPIs, Did you like the KPIs they gave you?
No.
No, you threw a fit. So, okay. So everyone listening. So like April's president over our offsite team. So she has like 30, I don't know, 32.
37.
You're counting. You have 37 people underneath you. And so your KPIs are essentially the combination of everyone else's KPIs. And you're like, well, that's not fair because if your team's not doing well, you're not doing well. But I was like, but that's actually what we're looking for because leaders really are great at who's underneath them. And the fascinating thing is not only you, but our communications lead has the same thing. What has happened though? How has your team's numbers and how are our performances doing now that you're graded by those underneath you?
It was actually good. Like week after week after week, they're punching
every week. And not by leaps and bounds, but maybe like 2%, 2% better this week, 1% better, another 2%, another 1. But you keep doing 2% or 1% improvement week over week after week. It's scary how quickly numbers can turn on a dime and customers are really, really getting taken care of well. And now so KPIs, key performance areas must be specific. So when coming up with good KPIs, we have to do this because you have to keep score. You can't just say, hey, we are all winners. No, we have to hit payroll. Our business does profit sharing. Everyone wants more profit to share. The only way you do this is by making more money. We can only raise prices so much. So you have to improve efficiencies. What does that look like? So when coming up with a good KPI, very similar to KRAs. So last week, if you missed that podcast, go back and re-listen to the KRAs. But you really can't have more than 3 to 5 KPIs, just like you can't have more than 3 to 5 KRAs. Exactly. Thank you. So number one, it's got to be relevant. So in other words, it has to align with a specific business goal or objective and be relevant to the strategic direction the company wants to take. So I'll give you a real quick example. For our communications team, one of our goals is we answer 90% of all phone calls within 60 seconds. 90. That is a lot. We are not there yet as a company, but we are shooting straight up there. Maybe Apria, or you call Apria, you're waiting 45 minutes to get picked up. They should hire us. We could really help them out if they actually want to take care, because you've got to pick up the phone to take care of your customers. Second, it's got to be measurable. So measurable means quantifiable, allowing for objective evaluation. So here's one of the great things. If your team does not have KPIs, what I love about it is it gives you numbers. Is someone good or not? So if you know baseball and you can say so-and-so hit 50 home runs in a year, you know that is amazing, MVP caliber level of a home run hitter. But if I say so-and-so's batting 195 with 3 RBIs and 1 home run, you'll be like, he's going to get cut. Those are not good numbers. And likewise, we spend so much money on team members. We want to make sure we have high performing team members. And what's fascinating is by instituting good KPIs, it's one of the easiest ways to increase great performance within a team. Let's tell our listeners, because we have both inside sales here in the United States as well as inside sales in the Philippines. What has happened as we've given our offsite team sales numbers?
Well, it was actually good. There's this one time they were in the meeting for the communications team, and our team member on site was like, oh my God, I was just second this week. So our offsite team is getting the number 1 spot when it comes to sales. So
and they were shooting to beat our US side. And we're not going to lay anyone off on the US side because our US side of sales is doing amazing. But we actually had our offsite team pass them. And then our US guy, who was just rocking it, upped his game even more. And so it's really, it can be kind of fun because essentially it's a challenge. Who can do better? Likewise, if you have a bad one or a bad day or a bad week, you can go, hey, April, my numbers aren't all that good. What do you recommend that I do? And you might actually have insights. Maybe this is why your numbers are a little bit lower. Or, I noticed you did this. So other things, it's got to be actionable. A KPI cannot be, so this is what would make a really bad KPI, is if it is a number that someone cannot control. So for example, what's an action that we can't control?
I'd say it would be sending an email to a candidate, because we don't always look for someone. So if we add that on the KPI, I mean, it's not going to be accurate.
I should have thought about this before asking the question, but it's got to be something that we can actually influence, because there are certain things that we have no influence over. So you really don't want a KPI to be a number that you have no influence over.
Right.
So like my CSRs really can't influence the number of people who walk into our store. Now our marketing person can, because we have advertisements, what's on our billboard, all of that can help drive traffic. Now, if we do a horrible job taking care of customers, of course, that's going to go down. But a lot of it's just understanding what we can determine and what we cannot. So KPIs also, I think you said this, they need to be time bound. So is this how many sales per week, per day, per month? You've got to have constraints on it. For anyone who talks with us, and I'd be more than happy to go over your, 2 or 3 of your team members' KPIs with your business. There are some little hacks we figured out how to do this. And I'm more than happy even to share some Excel spreadsheets, say, hey, this is what Offsite Team is doing. Because not only can you use them with your offsite staff, you can use it with your on-site staff. And there's ways of showing those measurables. I'm not going to elude them, but it's very similar to a stoplight where you want to get their attention if something is not in the green area. Next, they've got to be consistent. So what happens if someone does not have consistent KPIs?
There has to be a problem on that one. So we need to find out what's going on. We need to do a one-on-one sync, what's going on, if there's any issues that we have.
But in terms of like consistency, I'm talking, you don't want to change someone's KPIs. We're looking at this and we're looking at this and we're looking at this. Why do you want to keep the KPIs consistent?
Well, because that's part of the KRA as well. That's what they are supposed to be doing. That's their task, that they're responsible and accountable, which is why we want to keep the same KPI. But we also want to make sure that the KPI that they have is something that they know that they are doing. So they have to be involved. Our team members needs to be involved. That this is what your KPI looks like. This is what your goal on a weekly basis that you have to hit.
And another reason, we had one of our team leads, she was in a really bad mood last week, and you were in the meeting, and one of her KPIs had dropped, and it was Labor Day week. So it was Labor Day week that the KPI dropped, and she was like, "Oh no, I she was throwing a pity party." And we went back, and she's been with us 3 years. And I said, "Well, yeah, your numbers did go down over Labor Day. However, let's look at those numbers the last 2 years, the same Labor Day week, and they were actually up 50% year over year." And she went from being down to like, I nailed it. And that's the advantage of having consistent KPIs, because in the retail business, there are definite trends that happen. So even though, because her thought was, well, it shouldn't drop as much as it did, but certain holidays such as Labor Day, which happens on a Monday, a lot of doctors take Friday off as well too. So we really only had 3 days of referrals coming in. And this is the advantage of having KPIs. She would have beat herself up. And in fact, it actually made her feel really, really good. So it allows you to kind of trend things out. We use this with hospice. We use it with a lot of other seasons towards lift chairs, scooters. We have a general idea what to expect because we have such detailed KPIs. Now, a couple other things with KPIs, they've got to be understandable. And you just know this. Talk to the team. Do you understand what you're being graded on? It's got to provide comparative insights. So that means you've got to be able to compare this week with the next week with the next week. And I'll know this when I look at them. I can look at most KPIs and tell you within 5 seconds if it's a decent number or not. You will also have a general idea talking to team members. And then last, it's got to be driven by valid data. You can't make up numbers. KPIs only work with good data. And this is one of the things I absolutely love about Brightree. Brightree, if anything, has too much data. So we need to figure out what the best numbers are to track. And this is one of the advantages. Hey, if you work with Offsite Team, we've been working on which numbers to track for almost 10 years now. Even though we've only done specific KPIs, we've done full overview of numbers for going on almost 10 years. So we have a general idea of what numbers are good, what numbers are bad, when do we need to start freaking out, and what that looks like. So tell me one of your biggest success stories with KPIs at any of your team members. Just someone, hey, we started tracking a number and this happened and this is why it's awesome.
When we first started the KPI, everyone was like asking, why are we doing this? We're not doing this before. I mean, are you trying to...
Who moved my cheese?
Yeah. So, and then what I like about it is that one of the team members stood up. She was like, every Friday or Thursday, she will start sending messages to all the team. She would ask me, is it okay if I send this over? And then it's like, okay, go ahead. And the message was, today's Thursday. Are you guys on green? If not, let's go ahead and do our best so we can be sure that we're hitting the numbers by tomorrow. So, it's a healthy competition. So, and then she would go, I'm on green right now. It's only just Wednesday. So I like that there is this competition that's going on. So everyone was like KPI driven.
And it's really, really good. Now, you do have to be careful. There will be some, I will say, when we started this, we actually lost about 3 team members. They literally just quit. And I don't know if they wouldn't have been able to hit it or not, but they quit because they were so worried and they had probably other issues. So that is something to be careful of. So if you don't have KPIs, we're more than happy to walk you through the process, because there's a few small things we did if you're going to bring this into your team, of a very smooth way of doing this where they almost don't even realize it. Now, I printed up a few KPIs. So if you're still not sure what's a good KPI, here's one of ours. Team averages 80 phone calls answered per day when primary on phones. This is before we had the 90% goal. It used to have 85% of calls answered within the first 3 rings. That's another KPI. One of our fax wranglers, this person averages 60 faxes a day when primary on fax. And if anyone reaches out to us, I'll just give you some of these. It'll give you, here's one for our salesperson. This is now higher because this is about 4 years old. This person averaging $70 per hour in sales. That was one of them. This was a brand new CSR that we have. So you can really almost use anything as a KPI as long as there's numbers behind it. So, well, hey, here's how Offsite Team works. You know what April and I do? We streamline the recruitment process. So let's say you do need some extra work, some back-end help. We're giving you fully trained team members. So the nice thing is I can tell you, even if you don't have KPIs, the team members that we're giving you are coming in with KPIs because we want them to outperform and just do an amazing job for your team. What we also do is we draw from a very extensive talent pool. We have personalized matchmaking for your company. Number 4, we are affordable. You'd be shocked at how affordable we are and also for what you get out of it. And last, we offer ongoing support and monitoring. So we're not just going to give you a team member. Now, if you want us to just give them to you and go and not touch them anymore, we'll do that. But what we're also going to do is while they're working for your company, we are coaching them on great customer service. What is it? We want to make sure they bring their A+ game to your team. So that's what we do. So, hey, if you are interested, reach out to us at offsiteteammember.com. Give us a call, shoot us an email. I'll even send you over some free KPI trackers that we currently have. What I will also do is if you listen to this podcast, I would say in the next month, reach out to me. And what I'll do is give me 2 or 3 of your team members, and I will just as a freebie, review the KPIs that you have for them. Or if you don't have KPIs, let me give you a few options of some decent KPIs that you might be able to use with your team. Well, hey, April, you know what our next podcast is going to be on next week?
I'm not sure if that's what I was thinking.
Or should we ask ChatGPT or Bard what it should be? Next week, we've been using this so much. I'm like, April, we need to have a podcast on ChatGPT and Bard, and what does it look like with the offsite team and even on-site team? So that is next week, how it can help your DME business out. We will be here in person. But until then, I hope you guys have a very, very good day. And we appreciate you guys. Offsiteteammember.com.